AfterLite, A Survivor's Tale, Chapter 1, Day 1. Scene opens in a quiet bedroom, a low hum of early morning. James Newland got up today a few minutes later than normal. The night before, he'd worked himself sore, dug up a dead box tree bush in the yard and moved some old wooden steps. Not a bad way to earn a beer in a quiet evening.
I just finished showering when I cracked open a Stella. Sat with Anna in the sunroom. Talked about the house, little things. Fix the trim, maybe build that raised garden bed she's been mentioning.
They'd only been in the new place a few months. Not perfect, but it was theirs. By bedtime, James was stiff and tired in the good way, the kind of tired that sleeps hard.
One of the dogs woke me up around midnight. Little guy needed to pee. We handled business and went right back to sleep. I barely remember it.
Then came the morning, a Wednesday, that middle of the week drag. The alarm went off, and James just didn't want to do it.
Oh, God. I didn't want to get up, but I did. Rolled out of bed, took a leak, washed my hands, brushed my teeth, the usual.
He kissed Anna goodbye, exchanged I love yous, and shuffled off to the kitchen to start his routine.
Coffee brewing, dogs whining, backpack by the door. I hydrate hard in the morning. Gatorade Zero, water, then 1 cup of black coffee. Just one. Weekends are for indulgence.
He'd recently bought a big, rugged hiking backpack, not because he thought the end of the world was coming, but because it was good to be ready. It had everything he'd need if things went sideways. Clean clothes, shaving kit, towel, wet bag, all packed and ready.
I'm not a prepper, but I think about things sometimes. You see a video about what to do in a disaster and your brain just chews on it. You rehearse silently.
James grabbed his lunch, backpack, keys, and coffee. He gave the dogs a pat on the head and said,
"Be good, boys,"
and locked the door behind him. Scene shifts. Car driving, road noises fade in, then fades out. His commute to the power plant usually took about an hour. That day, it only took 40 minutes. Another 10 to get through the gates and parked. Another few to walk to the locker room. It was already warm. Humidity pressing down like a heavy blanket. The big bay doors were open, hoping for airflow.
I've got 2 lockers. One for boots, jackets, hoodies. The other's my cleanup locker. Shower shoes, towel, kit, where I stash my keys, wallet, phone, and wedding ring.
He laced up his boots, grabbed his lunch and coffee, and made his way to the shop for briefing. Scene shifts. Shop floor, machine hum, voices. The shop buzzed with the usual mix of machine noise and tired greetings. Some guys had been at it for decades. Others were still learning the ropes. It felt like just another day.
Coffee in one hand, wrench in the other. Our supervisor, Tom, gave us our marching orders. Routine stuff. Turbine inspection, pump maintenance. Nothing fancy.
Tom looked distracted. Said he had fires to put out, then walked off. Scene. Shop, mid-morning. Subtle tension begins to build. James and his team worked through the morning. The temperature rose with the sun and the air inside thickened. Sweat rolled off brows, grease coated palms. The machines groaned and clattered like usual.
We were halfway through a pump housing inspection when it happened.
Piercing high-pitched tones, then sudden silence. A high-pitched alarm shrieked across the plant. Not one anyone recognized. Then, silence. Machines died, lights went dark, fans cut out. The shop became a vacuum.
It was like someone pulled the plug on the universe.
Tom's voice crackled over the intercom, staticky, urgent.
"Evacuate, now! All personnel evacuate the floor."
The scene is outside the plant, distant smoke. Vehicles are stalled. They ran, not walked, ran. Tools abandoned, conversations forgotten, panic in the air like static. Outside, thick black smoke curled from one of the buildings. Emergency truck sat dead on the lot. Engines off, no lights, no radios.
I tried my phone. Nothing. Just a dead screen. Guys around me tried theirs too. No one got anything.
Even the cars wouldn't start. Something had shorted everything, like a switch flipped across the entire grid. No power, no signal, nothing.
This wasn't just a blackout. Something bigger happened. A grid failure, maybe, but deeper.
James waited, like the rest of them, for guidance, orders, a rescue plan. None came.
I made my choice. I was going home. Nearly 50 miles away. It wasn't going to be easy.
Back inside the locker room, James found that one of his old battery tap lights still worked. A tiny spark of hope. He changed into his backup shirt and secured his pack. Inside it, his wedding ring, now tucked safely in a side pouch.
I wasn't about to lose that ring. Not out here.
The scene. Highway overpass, silence, distant sirens fading. As James stepped onto the shoulder of the highway, he looked back at the power plant, now a dead hulk against the skyline, smoke still rising, sirens somewhere distant.
That plant had always felt like a living thing. Today, it felt like a carcass. Something had gone wrong, way wrong.
He didn't know what lay ahead, only that he had to get to Anna, and fast, because this, whatever it was, wasn't temporary.
This is day one.
End of chapter 1. AfterLite, A Survivor's Tale, Chapter 2, The Long Walk. Scene opens on a rural highway, early afternoon. The sun is high, a heat shimmer on the blacktop. No cars pass, no engines hum, just wind. James Newland stood on the shoulder of Highway 51, the midday sun burning overhead. He adjusted the straps on his backpack, the weight already pressing into his shoulders. It was going to be a long walk, 50 miles, maybe more. He looked behind him. The plant stood like a dead relic on the horizon, smoke curling up into a sky that didn't care. No vehicles on the road, not one, only silence. A few distant crows, the dry rustle of grass. It was eerie, wrong.
After a few miles, cars were stalled everywhere, pulled to the side or stopped right in the middle of the road. No hazard lights, no horns, dead. Just dead.
And the drivers? Some were still inside. Some had left. Some looked like they were still trying to comprehend it all. Like if they sat long enough, their engines would magically start again. But most were leaving their vehicles behind, just like James. The scene. James walks along the shoulder, feet crunching gravel. The first hour was quiet, just the sounds of his boots hitting pavement. James kept a steady pace, one eye on the horizon, the other scanning the tree line beside the highway. His pack bounced slightly with each step.
My feet weren't used to this. I work on steel grates and concrete. Not 10 miles of roadside heat, but I kept going. Kept thinking of Anna, the dogs, home.
Home was everything now, and getting there would mean navigating a world that had just stopped, like time had frozen, but only for the machines.
First couple of miles, I passed stalled cars with the doors flung open. Some folks were just sitting beside them on the grass, drinking warm bottles of water, staring up at the sky like it might give them the answers.
No one knew anything. That was the worst part. No phones, no radio, no power, just rumors. A few of the people had heard a loud pop in the sky. Some said they saw a flash of light. A few whispered EMP, an electromagnetic pulse, maybe from space, maybe from a bomb, maybe something worse.
Most of them didn't even know what EMP stood for, but I'd watched enough videos to know what it meant. If it was real, it meant everything was fried, not just power, but electronics, microchips, anything not protected.
James remembered one video in particular. Some guy in Idaho, showing off a Faraday cage he built into his old truck. "When it happens," the man had said, "you won't get a warning. You'll just wake up in the 1800s. Scene. James comes across a small group of people by a rest stop pull-off. Around the 5-mile mark, James came across a small cluster of travelers. They were gathered under a rusted overhang at an old rest stop. Maybe a dozen people, families, lone drivers, one older woman holding a useless GPS.
I asked them if anyone knew what was going on. Most just shook their heads. One guy, a trucker, said his CB had cut out right before his engine died. Another said she saw planes turning back. Big ones, passenger jets, heading west.
He shared a bottle of water with a young couple. They had a baby with them. The baby wasn't crying, just blinking at a world like it knew something was off.
I gave them my last bottle of water, the one I kept in case I ever skipped breakfast. Figured the baby needed it more than me.
Then James moved on. The group didn't. They were waiting, hoping for help. A National Guard truck, a news crew, a convoy. But James had a gut feeling none of that was coming. Scene is early evening. James walks along a rural stretch. Trees line the road. As the sun dropped lower in the sky, James started to feel the miles. His shirt stuck to his back, his calves burned. He found a down signpost and sat for a while, checking his pack.
I didn't pack much food, really. Just a couple protein bars I'd thrown in on a whim. I wasn't planning on a wilderness trek when I left for work this morning.
He ate one bar, drank sparingly, knew he needed to ration now. No telling when or if stores would be open or safe.
I started to wonder if Anna had any idea what was going on, if she was watching the power flicker out, if she thought about trying to drive to find me.
That scared him more than anything. The thought of Anna out there on these roads, vulnerable, searching, hoping. Scene. James walks past a farmstead. Dogs bark in the distance. As night approached, James passed a small farm. Smoke rose from the chimney. Old-fashioned. Wood stove, maybe. A family sat outside, cooking something over a fire pit. No lights, just firelight and quiet voices.
I waved and they waved back. I didn't stop. I didn't want to seem threatening or desperate. But it was comforting to know that someone had food and fire.
He thought about asking to rest, but something in him said no, not yet. He wanted distance, wanted to be closer to home, closer to Anna. Scene. Night falls. James finds shelter under an abandoned billboard. By dusk, his legs were screaming. He found a billboard with a narrow crawl space underneath and made camp. Rolled out his towel for a mat, sipped water, ate nothing.
The stars were brighter than usual. No ambient light, no glow on the horizon, just dark, pure and heavy. And it hit me how loud the silence was.
He lay awake for hours, listening, waiting. The hum of civilization was gone. No AC units, no cars in the distance, no planes overhead.
I kept expecting the buzz of a mosquito, the snap of a twig, something, but it was still like the world held its breath.
Eventually, sleep took him, fitful and brief. Scene. Early morning, mist rising from the road, dew on the grass. James woke at dawn. His joints ached, back stiff, muscles tight. But he was alive, and home was still ahead.
I got moving before the sun even cleared the trees. I didn't want to waste the cool part of the day.
By now, he was 30 miles out. His boots were worn, the heel beginning to blister. But he didn't stop. Not for long. Each mile brought him closer to what mattered.
I kept thinking, if this was man-made, if someone did this on purpose, what's next? Is it just the grid or is it something else coming?
Scene. James crosses a bridge, looks down at a dead truck in the creek below. Halfway across the bridge, James paused. Below him, in a dry creek bed, lay a pickup truck, crumpled, smoke-stained. Probably ran off the road when everything died.
I thought about climbing down to check it, but what was I going to find? A radio that doesn't work? A wallet with no use?
He kept walking. The scene, nearing the outskirts of a small town, people on porches, some with weapons. As he neared the town just outside his own, things changed. People were out, watching, guarding. Some had guns slung across their shoulders. Others held baseball bats, or nothing at all.
No one smiled. No one waved. They weren't necessarily unfriendly. They were just watching. Like everyone was waiting for someone else to make the wrong move.
James didn't stop, didn't make eye contact too long, just kept walking. The scene. Late afternoon, James comes across a house with a garden hose left dripping. A miracle. A house with a rain barrel and a garden hose still dripping slowly. He waited. No one came out.
I risked it. I went for it. I filled both of my bottles, topped off the Gatorade container, drank right there, cold, tasted like life.
Scene. James finally crests a hill, his neighborhood in sight. And then, around 6 p.m., he saw it. The curve of the road he knew so well. The edge of his neighborhood. Still, quiet, but standing.
I nearly ran, but I didn't want to draw attention. Just walked fast. Every house I passed, lights off, cars dead, front doors open in some places.
Then, finally, his house. Porch empty, the front door closed, a note taped to the glass. A scene. James walks up to the door, trembling slightly, reads the note aloud.
James, I'm okay. Dogs are okay. Generator's out. Heading to my brother's cabin with supplies. You know where. Left around noon. Love you always, Anna.
His legs buckled. He sat on the porch step, note in hand, tears running down his dust-streaked cheeks.
She's alive.
Scene. He stands, looks north, resolute. He didn't rest long, just enough to refill water, grab supplies, change socks. Then James slung on his pack and looked north, towards the cabin. Another 50 miles, maybe more. But she was there.
Day 2 starts now.
The lights were gone, the grid was down, but James Newland was moving, and the story was just beginning. End of Chapter 2. Chapter 3. The Cabin Road. The morning sun barely filtered through the low haze as James Newland stepped off the country road and began his journey north. His boots crunched over broken gravel, and each step away from the plant, from the world he once knew, felt heavier than the last. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was loaded. This wasn't a quiet morning. This was a morning missing its noise.
Road's too quiet. No traffic, no birds, not even the damn cicadas. Just me and this pack and whatever's waiting up the road.
James adjusted the shoulder strap on his backpack. It dug deep into the muscle just below his collarbone. He packed it in better times, thinking it was for hiking, maybe a weekend trip. Now it felt more like armor, his only defense against a world sliding into uncertainty.
I kept checking the horizon like I expected to see smoke, helicopters, something, anything. But nothing moved. No planes, no engine sounds, just the wind kicking up old leaves and the occasional dog bark from somewhere distant. That kind of bark that sounds lost.
Midway through his first hour, James found the road partially blocked. A delivery truck was jackknifed across 2 lanes, its rear doors busted open. Boxes spilled out, chips, plastic, cutlery, shrink-wrapped paper towels, left behind like someone thought they were useless now.
Didn't take the food, left the paper towels. Either they had no time or they didn't care, or maybe they knew something I didn't.
He walked around the vehicle carefully. Blood smeared the driver's side door. A boot lay in the grass 10 feet off. The cab was empty.
Somebody tried to make a run for it, or didn't. Damn.
He moved on. He didn't want to be there if whoever did this came back. He'd brought a folding knife, a small pry bar, and a heavy flashlight. Not much of a defense. Not much at all.
I kept thinking about Anna, about her heading towards her brother's place out past Pine Creek. No power meant no GPS, no cell signal, just a direction and a memory. I had to trust that she made it. I had to hope.
About mid-morning, James heard the voices. 3 of them, maybe 4, just ahead. Laughing, too loud, too confident for people who should be scared. He crouched behind a culvert, watching through tall grass.
Looters, it had to be.
The men were ransacking an overturned minivan. One had a crowbar, prying at the glove box. Another was pulling something from a backpack. Maybe medicine. Maybe ammo.
Didn't want to get involved, but if they saw me, I wasn't going to be able to outrun them. Not with this pack. Not with no backup.
He waited. A long, sweating 5 minutes until they moved off, heading the other way, laughing like jackals. James slipped past in the opposite direction, keeping low, eyes darting from tree line to ditch.
I started taking back roads after that. Gravel, dirt, anything but a main street. Every building I passed, grocery store, gas station, even an elementary school, had broken windows or graffiti, sometimes both.
Then came the contrail, one long white streak across the sky, the first he'd seen since the grid went down. No sound, just that thin line stretching from horizon to horizon.
I stopped walking, just stared at it. If nothing's flying, who the hell sent that up there? A drone? A missile? A plane?
And that old question gnawed at him again. Was it natural? A solar flare? Some massive accident? Or something deliberate? An attack?
And if it was deliberate, who did it and why?
By noon he reached the edge of Briar Hill, a long slope dotted with rolled homes and rusted-out sheds. It was quiet. Too quiet. He stopped to eat a protein bar and drink half a bottle of Gatorade. That's when the old man appeared.
He came out from behind a stand of pine trees, wore a flannel shirt and jeans with duct tape on the knees, had a rifle slung across his back, but he didn't reach for it.
They stared at each other a moment. Then the old man spoke.
You headed toward the forest? Maybe. There's folks out there, good ones and bad, but the real problem's deeper than that. You seen the sky today? Yeah, the contrail? They ain't all gone, and they ain't all friendly. You think this just happened?
He didn't answer. Couldn't. The old man gave him a piece of jerky and pointed down a side trail.
That road will get you near the Pine Creek split, but watch the turnoff. Bandits been watching it. Stay quiet, stay sharp. Thanks.
He moved on for hours, through trees, along fence lines, across a shallow creek where the water still ran cold. His legs burned, his shoulders ached, but the image of Anna, standing on that porch with the wind in her hair, pulled him forward.
1 foot in front of the other. Don't think about what's behind. Just the road, just the cabin, just Anna.
As the sun began to set, James crested a ridge. Ahead, a narrow road twisted down through thickening pine. The national forest boundary lay just beyond the next rise. It was quiet now. Not the absence of life, but the kind of quiet that listens back.
This is it. Last stretch.
He adjusted his pack, took one last look at the sky. Cloudless now, but something still hung there, invisible, heavy.
Whatever this is, it's only just started.
And with that, James Newland stepped forward, into the trees, the forest closing around him like a breath held too long. End of Chapter 3. Chapter 4, The Deep Pines. The tree swallowed him. James Newland stepped off the gravel road and into the forest like a diver plunging beneath dark waters. The pines rose tall around him, their branches tight-knit and swaying just enough to whisper warnings. Here the air changed. Cooler, damper, carrying the scent of moss and bark and old hidden things.
No cell towers, no drones, no noise, just trees and whatever else is out there.
He checked his map, a faded paper printout from years back. It had been folded too many times, the ink smudged at the corners. But the shape of it remained. Rivers, trails, elevation lines. He was aiming for a narrow pass 2 ridges over, and then a descent into a glen where the cabin sat, tucked near the southern edge of his brother-in-law's land.
Anna's out here somewhere, maybe already there, maybe waiting. God, I hope she's waiting.
But the forest didn't make things any easy. By mid-morning, the trail narrowed. Roots jutted up like bones from the forest floor. Flies buzzed his ears and gnats clung to the sweat on his neck. He moved cautiously, ears straining for anything unnatural. Footsteps, voices, metal on metal.
Everything out here makes a sound. Even the quiet's loud if you know what to listen for.
He found tracks by a muddy stream. Boot prints. Not fresh, but not old either. A small group, moving single file, careful. Not the staggered gait of hikers or hunters. These were practiced feet.
Either military or people pretending to be.
Later, he stumbled across a fire pit. Fresh ashes. 2 cans of beans, one unopened. A shirt tied to a branch nearby, like a flag.
Someone's close. Close enough to smell the smoke and not care. That means confidence or desperation.
He kept moving. Didn't stop again until the sun tilted westward and the light began to fall golden and low. That's when he saw her. Not Anna. A woman in her 50s, short gray braid, standing by a crude lean-to near a fallen log. She held a crossbow, drawn but not raised.
Name? James, just passing through. Everyone says that.
She eyed him, then nodded to a flat rock nearby. He sat slowly, set his pack down, kept his hands where she could see them.
You military? Worked in a power plant, mechanic. You alone? I am now.
She lowered the crossbow just a hair. A truce.
Name's June. I used to run a hardware store in Dillard. Then everything went dark. Lost my nephew 3 days ago. Shot trying to protect some kids from a raider group. I'm sorry. Yeah, me too.
She shared dried apples, and they sat in silence for a while. The forest murmured around them, cicadas rising in chorus, wind whispering against the branches.
Where you headed? Pine Creek, my wife's family cabin. That road won't be easy, not anymore. There's a checkpoint now. Men with radios, gear, like they knew what was coming.
James stiffened. Radios? Radios meant working comms. Working comms meant power.
You think it was an attack? I don't think anything anymore. I know some folks were ready before the lights went out. Too ready.
He thanked her, filled his canteen at a nearby creek, and by dusk he was gone, moving deeper into the pine-thick woods. He saw no more people that day, only the signs of them. Bark stripped from trees in vertical patterns, X's carved into wood. A deer carcass hung too high, gutted and untouched.
That wasn't hunting. That was a message.
As twilight descended, he found a hollow between two rocky outcrops. There he made camp. No fire, just cold jerky, warm water, and the soft sound of a knife carving notches into a stick to count the days.
Day 4, maybe 5. Depends on if that first one counts.
He lay down with his back to the stone, flashlight ready in his grip. Sleep didn't come easy. Every twig snap sounded like a boot step, every hoot of an owl like a whispered warning. Sometime in the dead of night, he heard it. Voices. Muffled, distant, not shouting, but organized. Moving together. One voice barked a command. Short, clipped, military.
They're out here, whoever they are, and they've got radios, orders, a plan.
He didn't sleep after that, just waited for morning, heart ticking like a metronome, eyes fixed on the dark canopy above. At dawn, he moved fast. Every bird call sounded like static, every breeze like breath on his neck. By mid-morning, he saw the plume, thin and gray, curling over the tree line. His heart clenched. The direction was right.
That's the cabin, or near it.
He broke into a jog, his pack bouncing against his back, lungs burning with pine air. The forest grew tighter, denser, but the smoke kept him locked in. Forward, always forward. And then he saw it. A clearing, a weathered cabin, a split rail fence, smoke curling from the chimney. But no voices, no sign of Anna.
Please.
He approached slowly, hand on his knife. He knocked. Nothing. The door creaked open. Inside, a fire, still warm. A mug on the table. Clothes. Anna's folded on a chair, but she wasn't there. Only a note, scrawled in pencil, hastily. Had to move. People came. Heading to Miller's Hill. Stay quiet. Don't trust the uniforms.
She made it. She was here.
Hope and dread twisted inside him. She survived, but she was still on the run, still in danger. And don't trust the uniforms?
What the hell is going on?
He folded the note carefully, slid it into his shirt pocket, and stepped outside, back into the clearing, back into the woods. The pines rustled, but offered no answers. End of chapter 4.